I posted a video. So I wanted to give kind of an update on what's been going on at our house with, I've had some health issues and kind of what all that has entailed and why that has really taken me away from YouTube and all of the things that I've been doing before. So first of all, if you are new, hi, welcome. My name is Brittany. I am a first-generation homemaker, homeschooler, and wannabe homesteader. I have a small backyard homestead that we are trying to build on our quarter acre. And so this is actually our first year doing anything like gardening, and we just got our chickens in February, and so we have really taken on a lot. But it has been so much fun, really hard, a lot harder than I thought. But so that I have found such a love of just growing our own food and raising our animals to hopefully one day, eventually, give us food, considering they're still not laying eggs yet, but hopefully that's coming pretty soon. So where I've been with my health, so the problems that I've been having. So I have kind of mentioned it before that I have an autoimmune disease. I have celiac disease. And so last year was kind of when I was diagnosed with celiac disease. And that was kind of the starting point of figuring out what's all going on in my body. And it's sort of been a big puzzle for the past year. And honestly, it's been going on way before that. Actually, since I was a teenager, I would have heart palpitations. My heart would randomly start racing for absolutely no reason, and I would have to go lie down to get it to stop. And when I say racing, I mean up to almost 200 beats per minute. So it was really high, and we couldn't figure out why. And so when I was in my early 20s, I went through all of the testing with cardiology. I, did echoes and monitors and stress tests, and more monitors and more echoes and all of that stuff. After several years, and we finally got to a point that my cardiologist said that, look, this is just something that we can't figure out. We can't figure out why. All of your testing comes back normal. Your EKGs look good. There's, nothing looks abnormal to me. So we're just going to continue to do echoes every 2 years to make sure nothing else shows up. And so that was just kind of something that I had lived with. I had gut issues where I just kept developing more allergies, more sensitivities. The list of foods I couldn't eat kept growing longer and longer and longer. And then when I was diagnosed with celiac disease, it kind of all made sense, and I was able to, as my gut has healed from getting off of the gluten, I have been able to eat more things that I couldn't eat before. And so that's been my hope, is I've been adding in a lot of probiotics. And I've mentioned this in a past video, just trying to eat healthier, more naturally, more whole foods, to heal my gut. Woo, big win there. It feels really good because it's so hot. That has been helping a lot. But in November, I finally, after having, I don't know if we can say COVID anymore, but I know that you would get shadow banned if you would say it, but I think that it's fine now. But in November, I got COVID, and of last year, 2022. And ever since then, I had the normal trouble breathing for a while, and I think because I had an autoimmune disease, it just lasted longer. And I also had a lot of fatigue. And then I started noticing that my palpitations were coming back because they had gone away for the most part after I had gotten off of gluten, and they had started to come back, and I was having a lot of, like I said, the fatigue, and then a lot more dizziness. So I have always had trouble with, I thought it was just blood sugar issues or things like that, and I've been diagnosed with anxiety and ADHD, which I do think I have ADHD, but some really severe anxiety, panic attacks, things like that. And I remember going to the cardiologist one time and telling them it just feels like a really big heaviness on my chest. And they told me, oh, well, it's probably just anxiety. I'm like, but I'm not anxious. I don't feel anxious. There's nothing around me that makes me, there's nothing in me that's telling me something's wrong. Like I have that anxiety feeling that wasn't there. So I would have things like that happen. And after having COVID, it seemed like everything was heightened. Everything was more. So it was more palpitations, more dizziness, more fatigue. So the dizziness was that I've always had my entire life. So that feeling when you stand up really fast and you start feeling kind of lightheaded and a little woozy. I would get that every single time. And then after having COVID, it was a lot worse. I would stand up and I would see stars and I'd almost black out. And so I went to my primary care doctor and I told him the issues that I was having, and he ran a bunch of blood work. All of the blood work came back pretty much normal, and so he wanted me to go back to my cardiologist. And the cardiologist, so this was right after I stopped, right after the last video I posted on YouTube was whenever I went to my primary care doctor to talk about all of this stuff. And, oh no, it might have been before. It might have been right before. ADHD, guys. So when I met with cardiology, that was in May. And they wanted to rerun all of the testing, and I brought up to them something that I had heard of that I had never heard of before, and it's called POTS. It's postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome. It was something I had heard of when I heard somebody else had been diagnosed with it, and because I'd never heard of it, I looked it up, and I'm like, wow, all of these symptoms sound like what I have been experiencing all my life, and now I was experiencing to a higher degree. And so I brought that up to him, and so he said that he wanted me to track my heart rate at home and do like kind of an at-home POTS test. He also put me through a nuclear stress test. He did echoes, he did ultrasounds, he did all of the things to make sure it wasn't my heart, and ruling out any structural issues, which he had already done in the past, but he wanted to be extra thorough before giving a final diagnosis. And so that all came back normal. I did my at-home POTS test. The at-home POTS test did come back positive. What POTS is, it has to do with the form that I would have. It has to do with the nervous system. It is for me, it's an overactive nervous system, and it makes your heart rate jump up when you stand up. And so my heart rate was elevating about 30 to 40 beats per minute upon standing, and would stay elevated for several minutes. And so there's a lot of other symptoms that come along with it. There is fatigue, brain fog, just overall, for me, when I'm in a really bad flare, I kind of feel like I'm getting the flu. Dizziness, shakiness, heat intolerance, a lot of different things. So I got that diagnosis, and then I had decided, they did mention possibly doing medication. I told them I'm very anti-medication just as a general rule, and I really would like to try other things first before hopping on pills. And so I have just been working with trying to hydrate more, increasing my electrolytes, staying out of the really, really bad heat as much as possible, resting when my body is telling me to rest, and just paring down my life as much as I can whenever I'm having a flare, because I always get some dizziness and I always get some fatigue, but my really intense symptoms only happen during certain times, like when my hormones fluctuate really bad, or when I'm going through something that's very stressful, or I'm overheated, and so there are certain times that I know I'm going to be flared more, and so during those times I'll be more intentional about resting. So that is the current plan. That is what I have been up to. That's where I've been. We actually went ahead and stopped school a little bit early and are taking a little bit longer of a break because I have been trying to just figure out what life needs to look like in order for me to serve my family well, to serve the Lord well, to manage my home well, and still take care of myself. And so I feel like I am finally figuring things out, which is why I am making this video and why I am attempting to come back to YouTube, because I do feel like we are getting a handle on it. I do have one more appointment because since I do have an autoimmune disease, we are going to go ahead and meet with endocrinology to rule out any possible autoimmune issues that could be either mimicking POTS symptoms or enhancing the POTS symptoms. Because once you have one autoimmune disease, you are more likely to develop a second autoimmune disease, which is why it's really important if you have autoimmune diseases to work on your health, work on your gut health, probiotics, all of that stuff, to make sure that you are giving your body the best chance to heal so you don't develop a secondary autoimmune disease. So once I have, so I meet with endocrinology August 10th. It is currently June 29th. In the meantime, I am going to be just really working to manage all of the symptoms. And hopefully the endocrinologist will say, everything looks good, and it's just that I have POTS. Or it could be, you know, I know my thyroid is, they did test my thyroid, and my thyroid is overactive slightly. And so it could be partially because of an overactive thyroid, and once my thyroid comes back into balance fully, then my other symptoms will go away. So that is my health update. It was very long-winded and very all over the place. I'm sorry. Something that you will learn the more videos of mine that you watch is that I have the attention span of a squirrel, and I don't like medication. So I just kind of roll with it and try to manage it as best I can. So I manage my ADHD the same way I am managing my POTS, is I put things in place that help keep me in line and focused. Doesn't always work, but it's okay. We're managing, and it's fine. So that's all that I have. So like I said, the videos that I am putting out on this channel that are going to be more frequent, hopefully, as I am learning how to manage all of this stuff, is like homesteading, homemaking, homeschooling kind of content. I am a first generation homemaker, first generation homeschooler, first generation homesteader. So I have learned none of this from my past. My parents were dual income, super suburban lifestyle kind of thing. And so I am learning, so I am going to share all of my fails and all of my wins and everything in between. So if you want to learn alongside with me, I hope you will consider sticking around. And I'm going to go ahead and drop my Instagram handle, so if you want to follow me over there, that gives you some more of my day-to-day life. And until next time.